Fast forward to my own injury, having fallen from a plane. My canopy was fine until I turned on final and had a near fatal free fall accident, not burned in, but spun in, felt like I burned in after the right side of my canopy collapsed and ended up breaking my back, disc replacement, 13 surgeries total to this day from that injury.
And I always tell guys, this journey's waves, man. You got to learn how to surf. Because one moment you're riding high on a freaking amazing combat deployment, you're on the greatest team ever, and the next thing you're dealing with an injury. That's where a lot of us really figure out what we're made of.
It was Sergeant Major Lou Palka. He was like, fix yourself or you're going to be kicked out of the Army. At the time, I just broke my back. Why being such a dick? But I get it. And that was hard. It really was.
We need to understand, like, if you visualize something, if you really want something hard enough, you're going to have to sacrifice.
But I said, I want to retire out of the Army as a Green Beret, and I'm going to do what it takes.
So we're going to dive into this, but before we dive into it, you've been incredibly generous with your story. But recently, while we were recording another episode for a different podcast I produce, I finally got a little bit more of your story to where it's like, holy shit, like this guy, he's been vulnerable with our entire community about the injury, but everything else, it's a no-brainer why you're in this space. Everything, your entire journey has been just earmarked with moments where you could have given up, moments where you could have just said, you know what, fuck it, I'm out of this. But you've continued to prevail, you've continued to push forward, and you're now somebody that a lot of us look up to in the space of like, holy shit, like his story is a lot like mine. And if he can continue going, there's no reason why I should quit. So today, man, I want to dive into everything. I want to dive into before we get the entrepreneurial success, before we get the veteran advocate, we had a young Travis that dared to take up the mantle of being a Green Beret. And that's where I want to start it, man. Like, take us back, all the way back to those days.
Take you back. Well, I'll tell you, it really started with my father. How can you hear me? Can you hear me good?
Yeah, you're good.
All right, good. Yeah, so being in SOF in general started with my father. He's a former PJ, pararescue, did that for 13 or 14 years. And then he became an officer and went to PA school, and retired out of the Air Force as a PA. But my entire life growing up as a kid, he would always talk about being a PJ and he'd sing little bits of, little stanzas of the Ballad of the Green Berets to me. And I didn't understand that. I didn't even put two and two together as a kid. It was just, pin silver wings on my son's chest, make him one of America's best, because he was airborne in the Air Force and all that. And that was a really big deal to be airborne in the Air Force. And it wasn't until later on that I learned that, he had the utmost respect for Green Berets in Vietnam. He picked them up, in their Jolly Greens and stuff like that after coming off mission, really wonder what these guys were doing. Where did they come from? It wasn't a group of men that he got to really hang out with as a PJ. So, but yeah, as a kid, it was kind of ingrained in me, the military was. And so once I went to military academy and like an idiot, not mature enough at all for this school, dropped out and didn't recognize it then, but just thought I was too badass to be there, but later in life, when you do mature and grow, you realize I was an idiot. I was not mature enough to be there. I was a late bloomer, but joined the Army. Went in as a medic. 91 Bravo is what it was back in the day. I think it's 68 Whiskey now or something like that. And went to Alaska, which is ironically, I'm from Texas, and my dad was stationed in Alaska as well a couple of times. And the Army was like, "Hey, we're going to send you to Texas and Alaska." I was like, Jesus, I want to see the world. But went to Alaska, the 501st up there at Fort Richardson, and it was a medic there, and loved that assignment. I mean, we went all over the place. It was pre 9/11, so we were in Thailand and Guam, Korea, Australia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. We were the only Arctic Airborne Battalion in the Pacific Rim, so we were doing a lot of training at that time. Cobra Gold was a big thing.
Oh yeah,
yeah. One in
still
Australia
going
was
on.
called tandem thrust. I don't know what officer thought to call the one in Australia tandem thrust, but they did.
Guys, I got it. Tandem thrust.
Yeah. Oh, great, sir. Great. Yes. Put that on your OER. So, but in 99, I had, I thought, okay, well, I'm physically fit. My platoon sergeant at the time, Larry Puritan, uh, stud. He came from Ranger Regiment, and he had free fall wings on and all that good stuff. And he was our medical platoon sergeant, and I love that guy. And he really encouraged me. He's like, "Look, if you're going to talk about it, then do it."
Yeah.
And so I went to selection. He was the only one out of like the first sergeant was like, "If you're a traitor, you're
Yep.
you better make it because if you don't, I'm going to tear you up when you get back."
Yeah. You don't have a home here if you don't
Yeah.
make it.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I also we can talk about it later. But I got a little bit of that in group as well when I
Yeah.
decided to retire. But uh, yeah, in '99 went to selection, and in true form, made it through without getting recycled, uh, and went well. This isn't. I don't think this has anything to do with maturity, but I decided, well, okay, I got selected. I'm going to go to the Q course, but my buddy calls me, and I grew up playing hockey, and he's like, "Hey, why don't you come to Boise State, go to school, walk on our hockey program?" And it was pre 9/11, so I was like, "Oh, not much is going on. All right, I'll do that." And so got out of the army and went back to school to Boise State, played hockey there for a couple years, and
No shit.
yeah, yeah. Of course, the war started kicking off, and I was like, "No, like why now?" Um, but I went back into the army and called up the recruiters and said, "Hey, I want to be a Green Beret." They're like, "Fuck you. You left us. You know, you don't have a home here." But I deployed with the 21st Combat Support Hospital with an emergency room in the ER department, and
Oh shit.
followed up 4th ID, and just saw a lot of shit.
Yeah. Oh yeah. In that time
Um,
period,
yeah,
absolutely, man.
yeah. So, uh, but the whole time I was there, when I was able to use a satellite phone, or when we finally got computer set up, I immediately started talking to these dudes like, "Hey, I'm here. I'm physically fit. I want to go to the Q course, and I'll even go back through selection if I have to." And they were like, "Hey, look, we realize that we're going to need some bodies, so you don't have to go through selection if you can go and pass a PT test. Make sure it's legit. Blah blah blah." They found the guy to give me the PT test that was over there, and I ended up doing great. Smoked it. Legit PT test, not like something you're downrange and however they do it. Um, so yeah, early Travis, man, just Army medic, want to be a Green Beret. You put your head down. There was a song that I would sing at selection was from the movie Young Blood, a hockey movie. You just got to put one foot in front of the other. I remember saying that to myself constantly while I was there. Um, you got to keep your
Yeah.
mouth shut there. You can't really do too much talking unless you're doing team week or something like that. But yeah, made it through selection. Then I took a break, went to the Q course. The rest is history.
Yeah. Dude, dude, to be able to just say, you know what, fuck, I'm gonna go play hockey, and then the worst time, dude. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it was fun.
yeah,
I don't
yeah,
I don't have any regrets for any of that stuff, like, I think my dad was disappointed a few times in my life with dropping out of college, out of the military academy because he really wanted me to be an officer, always told me that that was the better way of living, the better retirement, all that, and it makes sense now, but again, I didn't care back then. I wanted to do cool shit, which my youngest right now is like, "Dad, I'm destined for the military. I wanna do cool shit." I'm like, let's think about, like, electronic warfare. Let's think about this,
It,
like
it's the same pattern recognition. Like,
yeah,
I've seen it with guys that had those great father figures. Your father's gonna always want what's best for you, but we need to understand as we transition into that phase of our lives, our kids are going to want to follow their heart. They're going to want to follow their own path. And it's like, man, I really want you to be a pilot and go do something else. Like, yeah, well, I really want to go suck in the dirt, become a ranger. And it's like, fuck.
but which I have no problems with. I'm like, "Great, man. Like, do that for 4 years, but let's have a
Yeah.
plan. And I didn't really learn about plans until I became a Green Beret, you
Yep.
know, and matured a little bit. I even think when I got to the Q course, I wasn't as mature as a lot of the guys that were around me. I really was a late bloomer or just mentally retarded. I don't know but I mean, because it's true. I mean, educationally, like, I made it just
Sure.
fine,
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's it was fun, and I tell my youngest, like, "Let's have a plan." So, and I learned about plans later on in life, and now I'm all about plans, because I had a plan when I transitioned out. Plans are healing and they make people successful. So,
Yeah, man. It's I have to imagine when you finally hit that point in your career where you're like, man, like I can't be the wild guy. I gotta have strategy in this. Was it more of like, all right, I'm a senior. Was it an actual point in time you can think back, or was it just like, I'm tired of learning the hard way?
uh, well, I mean, I don't necessarily know that I learned the hard way. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I was like the E4 mafia until I became an E6. I kind of I did what I wanted, but I did it really good. And then I also did what was told of me really good. So I was kind of like in that, like, we're not going to mess with him because he's doing really well. But then I also did my own shit, and so, but but there were a lot of mistakes that I made that later, once I became that senior, team guy. Uh, I looked back on, I'm like, I wonder where I would be in my career right now if only I would have focused a little harder or not done this or that. Because there were some times where I always tell people that I was just a mediocre Green Beret. I did some cool shit, saved a life in combat, got some awards and all that stuff, but I don't feel like it was anything extraordinary and that I had to work exceptionally hard to do it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Business is harder than anything I've ever done in my career in the military. Nonprofits, this veteran space of trying to take care of veterans is harder than anything I ever did in the military, in active duty military. So, but yeah, it was a ride and it was enjoyable and I had a lot of fun and really started to mature the closer I got to being a senior on the team. You know what I mean? Even my first deployment as a Green Beret, I felt like a fucking cowboy. I mean, it was cowboys and Indians time, back in those days, and we had fun, and you get addicted to it, and you kind of crave going, for example, to the Jabori Peninsula just to get the new guy a CIB, like let's fucking go, like
Yeah,
later, be like,
it's
okay, well,
very
let's
much
think
like
this
that.
out. What's that?
It's very much like that. It gets to the point where like it's a cultural thing. Like, well, we have a new guy, he doesn't have CIB. Well, let's figure out a way to get that. That's a weird thing to explain to people that I don't think enough people talk about. Like the understanding of like you have to you have to create a con op specifically for we got to make effects, and the effects are I got to get you CIB, we got to get you in combat. So you get that feeling, you get that, you got to get the first one out, you got to get it out, you got to get out of your system.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
yeah, yeah. I had plenty of tastes of combat, even as a medic at the cache. Like we were
Yeah,
receiving bodies or patients every day, 24 hours a day. To include Iraqis that were injured by us and all that. So I saw a lot of that. And but that first combat deployment, I remember doing that left seat, right seat ride with Fifth Group, going from Balad to where were we? Fob Palawada in it was in Balad, the city, but going to the team house. And damn, the first time out the gate there, we got like I don't even know what kind of rocket it was, but it just, straight through the vehicles. And you're just like, holy shit, day one, less than 4 hours here, like, let's get it on. So, but again, excited, cowboy feeling, like mature enough to know what to do and to, to worry about the men on your left and your right, as we say. But also like, fuck yeah, let's do this and have a good time.
yeah, yeah. It's but the thing that a lot of Green Berets experience is there's a moment in time where it shifts from the holy shit, this is fun, this is awesome, to oh fuck, this is the first time I'm meeting adversity either due to an injury or a catastrophic issue. And you have one of those stories where it's like you're riding high, and I always tell guys this journey's it's waves, man. You got to learn how to surf because one moment you're riding high on a freaking amazing combat deployment, you're on the greatest team ever, and the next thing you know, you're dealing with an injury, whether it's a fused fucking neck like myself or a huge major health issue. And those are the moments that when you reflect upon, you realize, okay, that's where I learned about grit, resilience, adversity, being in that hospital, going through all that therapy, going through all those things. That's where a lot of us really figure out what we're made of. This episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Taylor Bosley and Precision Wellness Group. Let's be real. By now, a lot of New Year's resolutions have already fizzled out. Life gets busy, motivation drops, and health ends up on the back burner. But here's the truth. There's no better time to start than right now. Precision Wellness Group specializes in hormone optimization and hormone health, delivering personalized care and treatment right to your door. If you've been dealing with low energy, brain fog, poor sleep, or stalled performance, hormone imbalance may be the missing piece. Dr. Taylor Bosley and his team take a data-driven, individualized approach to help you get back to operating at your best. Security Halt listeners receive 25% off their initial consultation when they use Security Halt 25 at checkout. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and get started today.
Yeah, that's true. I've got a number of stories, and I mean, from all the way back to Alaska when I watched a lieutenant, his canopy just cigarette rolled and he burned all the way in. It was winter. And, as a medic, I'm in the FLA and we're riding out there, me and this other medic. And it's and I was a senior medic at that time. I was, an E4, I questioned my medical integrity. Am I going to be able to save this dude's life? Thankfully, he lived. He got chaptered out, but snow helps.
I would imagine.
Yeah. And then in combat, and my buddy Jake Anderson, took a round to the chest on a house next door to us, and I was on the rooftop of the other house after neutralizing all that, seeing Jake laid out in the back of the building, and people calling out for Charlie 1. Where's Charlie 1? And I see him from the rooftop. I'm like, I'm fucking out. And I left the team. Said, man, you guys take care of the radios. I'll be back, because I wasn't a medic as a Green Beret. I was an Echo. Funny ass story how I became an Echo, but ran out there and did what I had to do. But again, questioned my medical integrity. I have not been a medic. I've been an Echo, but it wasn't that long ago that I was a medic. So it all came back to me, and was able to take care of Jake and get him on a bird and out of there. And he's still around today. It's, I don't know. There's just a lot of times that I questioned the integrity of myself doing the job, I guess is where I was going with that.
And I think every great leader, and this transcends professions, this absolutely transcends a little bit. Yes, it's a lot cooler when you're hearing about these combat stories, but this transcends military service, professionalism, and in first responder world, like everybody has that moment to shine. And I think the greatest individuals that I've talked to, the greatest leaders I've ever had, the mentors I've ever had, they don't introduce these stories like, oh, this is the moment where I was the fucking greatest thing on earth. No, exactly like you're talking about, reflecting back, like, man, I was hoping I had what it took to save that life. I was really hoping I was able to meet the moment. And I think when we look back to the guys that, I'm guilty of it, because I look up to guys and I call them, oh, this SF legend, this guy's an icon. They're flesh and blood. They're men just like us. But in the moment, they were able to rise to the occasion, and they have enough wherewithal and they have enough thought to say, I don't know if I have it, but damn it if I'm not going to try, if I'm not going to go in there and give it my all, because you didn't have to do that. You by all, like, you were up there, you had your sectors of fires, you had your responsibility, but you were also a trained medic. Mm-hmm. Maybe you weren't 18 Delta, but you were a trained medic. And in that moment, you knew, nope, this is my chance. This is my chance to do what I was put on earth to do. And damn it, I'm going to execute. I think a lot of us, we forget that we can take that with us. It might not be as sexy as doing a combat mission. It might be answering the call for your boss and coming through on that project. But you can 100% take these moments that you had in service and trust that you can do that in life, and just copy and paste. You have what it takes to be successful in these clutch moments. And I think so many veterans forget about that, man. I think it's sad. It's you. It's who you are. It's part of you. And if you're listening out there and you seem to have forgotten that, wake up. It's never too late. You have those moments.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. And but I would say, fast forward to my own injury, having fallen from a plane. Well, my canopy was fine until I turned on final, and had a near fatal free fall accident, and not burned in, but spun in, felt like I burned in, after the right side of my canopy collapsed, and ended up breaking my back, disc replacement, 13 surgeries total to this day from that injury, that accident. But it was Sergeant Major Lou Palka. He was like, fix yourself or you're going to be kicked out of the Army. And
This episode of Security Halt is brought to you by Dr. Mark Gordon and Millennium Health Store. If you've listened to this show, you know how seriously we take brain health, recovery, and long-term performance, especially for veterans and high performers. Dr. Mark Gordon is one of the leading experts in neuroendocrinology and traumatic brain injury. He's just released his new book, Peptides for Health. Both the medical edition, Volume 1, and a consumer edition, Volume 1, are available right now. The book breaks down how peptide therapy supports brain health, hormonal balance, recovery, and resilience in a way that's practical and evidence-based. You can get 25% off the book by using code PTH25 at checkout, valid through March 15th. And for Dr. Gordon's proprietary health products, Security Halt listeners can receive 10% off if they use the code PHASE2P. Click the link in the episode description to find out more and visit Millennium Health Store today.
there wasn't, you expect, some sort of like hand on the shoulder or arm wrapped around you, like, hey man, I know you got hurt and we really want you to stick around and let's really dig deep and do good for yourself and blah blah blah. But no, it's like, fix yourself, you're gonna be kicked out of the Army. Like at the time, like, I just broke my back, why being such a dick? But I get it. And that was hard. It really was, because here I am with a broken back, and there were some other things, in my life that happened. Having lost my father, my marriage was starting to tank. It didn't help that I broke my back, because then, you've got this lady who's like, "Oh, you're probably gonna get kicked out. I might as well move on anyway. No more benefits." But it was horrible. So I had to dig deep, and again, mediocre Green Beret. I just think that, I'm no hero. I'm nothing different than anybody else. But I said, I want to retire out of the Army as a Green Beret, and I'm going to do what it takes. And so I started, I went to school for exercise science, but I really started to look into like supplements, like what could help me heal faster? What can I do to be better? Obviously lose the weight that I gained in that year laying around, in a partial body cast thing. So I figured all that out pretty damn easy. And then just started working out, got to the point where, man, I could have ran marathons, like even after having disc replacement in my back and being jacked up. But it took a lot. And I might have sacrificed some family, time, because my marriage did end up going south and ending. But I was so focused on getting back into the regiment, even though I never left it, but being in the regiment, in with the guys, going on to the next team, if allowed. So, but that was hard, because I had to sacrifice some family stuff, and some people probably wouldn't have done it. They would have been like, I'm going to take my medical board, I'm going to get out. But I really wanted to be retired. But anyway, it was also about fear of letting the guys down. You know what I mean?
Oh, that's huge. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Even the ones that I didn't know, that knew my story, they're like, "Oh, you're that dude that burned in. Fucking cool, man." I did that to be there for them, because now they know me, and they're like, "You're that dude that burned in, and you fucking stayed in the Army and continued on." I had a couple more, deployments, but embassy shit. Party.
But it's important to highlight the spirit and the tenacity it takes to overcome something like that. And you're right. Like, you could have taken a medical retirement. You could have devoted yourself to healing at a slower, more sustainable pace, but it wasn't what you wanted, and it wasn't the goal. That wasn't the goal. That wasn't the fixed desired end state. And that's something that we need to understand. Like, everybody's different. Like, you 100%, two people going through the same thing. One option would be better for the other person. Your option was better for you. But it's that dedication and commitment to your path that we need to understand. Like, if you visualize something, if you really want something hard enough, you're gonna have to sacrifice. Like, you have to take the time to sit down and outline everything. Outline what's the ultimate friggin' goal. I want to get back in that team room. And I think a lot of guys, they don't give themselves enough liberty and have the chance to sit down and really look at what's at stake, what they really want to do, and whatever options they are. Like, dude, whatever it is that you want to do, outline it, lay it out, flat out, and look at it. Be willing to say, like, I'm going to be ruthless with my obligations to myself in this recovery and what I want to do, and fuck everything else that comes down the pipeline. I'm like, yeah, it's different when you have a wife and kids and everything, but figure it out, lay it out. If you don't do that, then you're letting life take control, man. And that's a sad thing that I see with a lot of people. They look at the situation they're in, they say, well, fuck, I guess this is it. It's like, I guess it's just what I'm going to be going through. But the other thing that I want to highlight, it's like, it sounds like the initial concept for what would later become your brand was born of trying to recover from this injury. Like,
100%. 100%, man. Yeah, I mean, I made a plan, con op, if you will, of the what if I don't make it. And I kind of fucked myself a little bit in coming up with a business plan as well. And I started Caliber Nutrition, which was a store selling other people's products, First Forms, like other supplement companies' products while I was on active duty. Just as a fallback, just in case I do, I've got this, that I can grow. Um, but I it was, shit, I was in for another 5 years with this company still. And, I mean, it was fine. It led into Alpha Elite Performance, into making my own supplement line. But it was difficult because I did get divorced. My kids ended up moving to Coronado, California, and with their mom, and then I ended up going to the RSE, and then graduating. And that pipeline of training was like a year and a half long, and then going. We didn't have permissions authorities, but I still went places and went to Lithuania and talked Russian to people and partied my ass off. But it was
allegedly.
Allegedly, yeah. That's just what people say I did. I was working. If that chief of station is watching right now, I was working my ass off. Got another meet, gotta go. but yeah, but that plan that I had also, I mean, obviously it was self-education, right? Like, I had to educate myself on business, my future, how to combine it all. Time management, you name it. It was difficult to do, but it also became addictive, kind of like combat. I think that people like yourself and me and other soft members of this community have an addictive personality to adrenalines, things like that. But when those tend to fade, we find something else to be addicted to, hopefully not drugs and alcohol, but more rewarding. And it is. I think that we get addicted to reward. But we're also made to, you remember that term, like, go make work for yourself. If I don't have anything for you, go make work. I mean, I tell that to my kids now and my wife. I'm like, go make work. You ain't got none.
I can't get away with that. Mine's an officer, so I quickly get told to go pound sand.
Yeah. So, but that's what I did, and it got me to where I am today. But it's a constant struggle. It's constant education. So much so that I'm going to utilize some of the Montgomery GI Bill or whatever it is, 9/11, that I never used because I didn't have to go back to school and take some of these more advanced.
Oh, no shit.
Education classes. Yeah. So yeah, yeah. I don't know that I'm ready for an MBA because I don't have that much time, but there are some classes that I saw in business entrepreneurship that I want to take.
Yeah. Dude, I'm right there with you. I'm this is my last semester for my master's, and I didn't even fucking know it till I logged in, and I was about to drop a class, be like, fuck, I don't know if I can do this. I need a breather. And I looked at my notification from my advisors. I was like, you need to submit your graduation plan. You graduate this semester. I was like, fuck, I can't drop this fucking class.
There you go.
Math and quants. Like, fuck this. I got to keep going. But it's stories like this that really, I just had Rick Franco from Four Branches Bourbon on the show, and he really highlighted the idea and the understanding of, like, hey, what you see in a curated space of social media and a magazine article isn't always the truth. Like, guys are still grinding. They're still waking up at 4 a.m. friggin' hammering out that presentation. They're still out there getting it to get to the next friggin' level. And if guys like yourself and Rick are out there constantly growing and adapting, that's a signal to all of us. Everybody that's coming in the next wave of veteran entrepreneurs, the next guy that are creating the next great idea, it never stops. It gets better. You iterate. You have version 2.0 gets better. 3.0 is going to be better, faster. You're not going to always strike that great idea. It's not always going to land. That next business plan isn't going to maybe you know be the best version of it. But keep growing, keep advancing, keep seeking knowledge, going after a new mentor in a different space. I think a lot of guys either have this idea that they'll launch the greatest thing, whether it's an app or a new business plan, and it'll immediately catch fire. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe you have to keep working. And if guys like Travis are going after, more education, figuring things out, that's a signal to all of us to continue improving the fire base, continue reaching and aspiring. Don't be a dog shit entrepreneur like me. Take the time, go to that Syracuse University entrepreneur program. I'll drop the link in the bio. Go do that stuff right off the bat. I mean, your journey's been insane, but when we look from the outside, we think it was just easy road and an easy transition because you see the articles, you see like, oh, Travis figured it out from the get go. And now you're in a completely different space that we have to dive into. How do we go from entrepreneur, nonprofit leader to fucking stem cells and Project Recon?
Well, it goes back to my injury and learning and having spent time at the brain treatment center. And then somebody had mentioned stem cells to me. I didn't know what they were. I mean, I knew what they were, but I didn't know that anybody was utilizing them. And they had mentioned going to Mexico or Bahamas or whatever. So I met a gentleman that introduced me to him. And I actually ran a nonprofit taking soft guys out to the Bahamas to utilize their own mesenchymal cells as opposed to cord blood stem cells, in which I do now.
Stories shape culture. They build trust. And when they're told the right way, they move people to action. That's what we do at Security Halt Media. We don't just produce content, we create authentic, impactful, and purpose-driven storytelling for podcasters, nonprofits, brands, and leaders who are on a mission. For people who've lived real experiences and want their message to actually matter. From podcast production and video to strategic storytelling and distribution. We hope you clarify your voice, elevate your brand, and connect with the audience you're trying to serve. If you have a story worth telling and a purpose behind it, Security Halt Media is here to help you tell it the right way. Click the link in the episode description to learn more today.
And mesenchymal cells are, we would harvest those from the adipose tissue, your fat tissue, and then direct them in, direct inject or IV therapy for brain health and stuff like that, with a little bit of mannitol to break the brain barrier. But direct injection, Chris Van Zant, great guy. He was we went to the Q course together, and then he went on to CAG. He had plantar fasciitis really, really bad, and so we ended up hooking him up and squaring away his plantar fasciitis. He started climbing 14ers again. But yeah, I saw what they were doing for guys, and healing them, and then brain health. I was like, okay, well, let me start doing this for my own brain, and noticed the positive effects of it. I had a stutter on S's after my injury that happened from hitting my head and blast injuries and just combining of all those microlesions that have happened over the years. And then I had a shake in my left arm, which, the psych at the 10th group was like, oh, you got PTSD. That's I'm like, nothing in my career.
Such a blanket diagnosis for all of us.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. And nothing in my career I had PTS from. And I saw some shit, and like we all have. And so I was like, no. But they went away over time. Like, I didn't even notice the shake thing. And my wife, was just like, hey, I haven't seen your arm shake in a long time. And I was like, you're right. But the stuttering, though, I noticed started going away. I still get stuck on words occasionally, but we all do. Like, there's a certain amount of brain trauma that has happened to us where we're going to get stuck on stuff. And then as you age, you're not going to remember as easily and stuff. But the stutter went away on S's. And I was like, this stuff is amazing. And I call it God's, medicine. It comes, the stuff that I work with is, cord blood stem cells and exosomes, and they come from, the cord blood, the placental sacs, and they're harvested from that, ethically harvested from Americans in the United States only. We don't do anything outside of the United States. But fast forward to, man, I got to start a nonprofit. I was at the GBF and things didn't really work out there. So I started Project Recon, and Anna from the GBF and Jess from the GBF came over, and they're the only employees. I'm just a founder and a chairman of the board, but this is the mission, and this is what I want to take place, and I want you guys to make it happen. And they're doing a great job in helping provide stem cell therapy to our soft veterans in our community, um, those that are dealing with the effects of moderate to severe TBI. I want them to experience what I experienced, and what a lot of others have experienced with stem cells and what they can do for the body and the brain.
Absolutely. And I think it's great that you guys are in this space because there's a lot of misinformation and a lack of education when it comes to what these stem cells can do. I think when, we are first introduced to them in our service, it's for a physical injury. Oh, well, we can get you in for stem cells, or we'll do some PRP, you get some stem cells to fix your Achilles or help with this issue. But when it comes to the brain, everybody's like, well, no, there's a blood-brain barrier. How are we going to be getting the benefits of stem cells and healing the brain? And guys don't even understand the importance of being educated on blast exposure and repeated head impacts. Guys are still thinking that a concussion has to be a knockout event, that you have to get hit by an RPG, you have to be in a rollover. Meanwhile, they're signing it back in equipment from their latest friggin' demo range, and they're
Yeah,
shaking and they got bloody noses. They're like, I'm fine, I'm fine.
yeah, yeah. It's like they were in an episode of Stranger Things, and yeah,
And we were all there, but it's like it slowly the information's coming out through podcasts, through
yeah.
different individuals talking about it. Guys are finally starting to get spun up, and I'm starting to hear current generation Green Berets asking and talking about like, whoa, like how do we take care of ourselves in the back end? So could you break down the procedures, or what does treatment look like through Project Recon?
Yep, absolutely. So the soft guy or gal will reach out to us through projectrecon.org. Their case will be evaluated by Anna and Jess. Over time, we plan to have actual case coordinators as we grow and bring in more funding. But they have to meet the criteria of having a diagnosed TBI, moderate to severe. So many of us have mild TBIs. We've all had, and I would love to be able to help everybody. Maybe we will someday when we have those millions and millions and millions of dollars. But right now, once they get approved, then they are, times are set up, the treatment is set up, and right now I'm working on providers across the nation. So if there's any providers that want to get involved in stem cells, I also can help you facilitate stem cells and exosomes for your practice. But we want those providers across the nation. So we're working with like Precision Wellness in Southern Pines, Dr. Bosley out there,
Oh
former 18
yeah.
Delta. Great dude.
Hashtag to Precision Wellness Group, a proud sponsor of Security Halt.
There you go.
Uh,
Yeah, so but he's going to be coming on board, and I've got one here in Texas and in California, and working on some others across the nation they'll be our go-to facilities to help cut down on costs and travel. But the soft, guy or gal, the soldier, sailor, whatever, will end up going to that facility near them to get treated with stem cells and exosomes. And there's not a set protocol. I have just had stem cells for brain health out of my own pocket, copious amounts. Um, Exosomes are the new hotness. They're smaller, they can break the brain barrier easier, and they're done intranasally.
I was going to ask about the intranasal. Yeah.
But also stem cells via IV, which are great. So the two together are phenomenal. Stem cells, exosomes, they love inflammation in the body. They find it, they get to it, and they get to work. They're like a little ODA, and they're like, I found it. Let's get to work. We're over here. But then what they also do is that they'll call the stem cells within your own body and say, hey, you're like your little partner for us. We need help. Like, get over here and help me, fix this. And so that's what, the combination of those two will do. But each of the service members will go to a place throughout the nation. We had a guy come from Hawaii. He went out to Phoenix, to a facility there. Yeah, it's really easy. They apply, you get approved. We set up the times, and we get the stem cells ordered, and they get treated. Now, when I said earlier that there's not a set protocol, we're figuring that out right now. There are protocols, but we don't have a set protocol. And we're dealing with our director, our medical director, on what is the best course of action. What's the right protocol to have, and it'll be extremely similar to what we're doing right now. But once we set that, then we're really going to pay attention to the results. I know the results are positive; they're really good. But now we really want to see what the brain is doing on a scan, whether it be an MRI
Yep.
or like through TBI Analytics. Shout out to them. They have some of the best scans out there. Amelia Brummel's her name, who owns TBI Analytics. Uh, but I want to see what the brain is doing after the fact, um, and then we'll go from there. If there's another treatment that's needed, depending on the severity, then we'll work on that. Hopefully, it's a one and done. I can tell you that the government is not. I'll tell you, the FDA is not really a fan of stem cells. They are. I mean, our facility in Florida, where we get them, is FDA regulated, CMPG, all that, and we ethically harvest from American citizens in America. The placental sacs, all that good stuff. But why aren't they, or like Florida's the only state where it's completely legal? You know what I mean? The rest of the states is done under kind of like peptides, under the scope of research. You know what I mean? A patient has to sign off on it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, but it's just it pisses me off that it's that, and it takes millions of dollars to lobby in order to get it passed in all those states. But I know the government's down with it because there are some people in positions right now uh, running three-letter agencies that are sending soft guys to facilities to be treated with stem cells and exosomes. I know that for a fact. Um, so I know that they work, but why aren't we doing this as soon as that soldier, sailor, airman, whatever, gets hit in combat or at work, or training? If you can get to the TBI as soon as it happens, one, we're gonna save that dude's career. Probably he's gonna be able to heal up and stay in. And two, not a lot of people want to hear this, but we'll save the VA a lot of money in that, potentially we won't have to, it'll be a rating on your disability rating, but it could be a 0%, and you're not going to get any money for it. But we recognize it. Things can happen down the road, and you know what I mean? So, there's just it's phenomenal, and it's great for everybody. And if we can get to the soldier, sailor, airman, whatever, when it happens, then that's even better. 1,000 times better. So it still works after the fact, but the sooner the better. It's like that golden hour, if you will.
Yeah.
So
the thing people are just now starting to understand, and of course, it's because the loss of life, whether it's a professional football player takes his life, or a young kid that kills himself, and then sadly after the fact diagnosed with CTE. I think now it's very much on front of mind for a lot of guys. They're starting to hear the symptoms. They're starting to hear individuals such as yourself, myself, that talk about what it's like to finally have that last drop in the bucket and things get completely out of hand. There's a moment in time I can vividly look back and touch and understand that, like, holy shit, like I couldn't talk. If I got upregulated, it was like brain lock. I couldn't read, couldn't see out of my left eye, like all these things that are the result of being in this profession. And it's not just relegated to special forces, it's not just relegated to rangers and SEALs, our mortarmen, artillerymen, individuals that are on the gun line firing munitions day in and day out. You're exposed to this too. But we don't have these modalities aren't easily available to the guys and gals that are doing the job right now. I think we need advocacy, but more than that, we need people that are willing to say, I'm going to go fight for this. I'm going to go and lobby for this. Unfortunately, I wish it wasn't that way, but that's where things change, man. That's the reality of it. Like,
yeah, I've had a sit down conversation with my CEO Anna Richardson, with the secretary of the VA, Senator Doug Collins, or former Senator.
Oh,
Doug
nice.
Collins. Twice now I've got to talk to him, and the first time was scheduled. We were at MIC, Military Influencer Conference in Atlanta. Great conversation. Get that man's card. I want to carry this conversation on. Nothing after that. Chirp, but he's a busy man. I'll give him that. We were just out at SHOT Show, and I actually know his director of communication, and she kind of alluded to being in the area. Just walk down the hall. Wink, wink. So I grabbed Anna and started walking down the hall and ran right into him. And I said, Mr. Secretary, I'd like to speak to you again. Do you remember me? And he didn't hear me. And the communications guy was like, hey, Doug. And he turned around and was like, oh my God, Travis, what's up? Which was cool because he knew who I was. But I thought that was great. So it made an impression. But said my little spiel, and then I let Anna, because I really want to give her, this direction as a CEO for Project Recon, to talk to him about what we've done already, and who we've treated, and just kind of give him an update. But that's as far as we've gotten. I would love if there's anybody in the House of Representatives, and I've reached out to plenty. I would love for a meeting to take place so that you can just hear what we're doing, what the costs are, and then why isn't our military doing stem cells on their own? It costs very little to harvest these, and how many baby mamas, are delivering these kids in military hospitals. I mean, one hospital can take care of all the stem cells. Like, we can go to Womack, we'll have plenty. Because here's another thing, is that a lot of hospitals in the civilian world will take that placental sac and say, it's waste. Nah, it's not. They sell it to these places that harvest it, and they make money off of it. So why is that mom not allowed to sell it? You know what I mean? It's a human biologic. She needs a certain license, and so much bullshit, bureaucratic bullcrap. But the government, we could get into this, and I mean, hell, they like to inoculate us with all kind of special. Right?
Absolutely.
Like, you're going to Africa again. Okay, well, I don't need any inoculations. Yes, you do. We got some new ones. Like, what?
And don't forget to take your mefloquine twice a day.
Right.
Fun fact, if you don't know the name of that medication, be grateful, because it gives you psychotic nightmares that even after you stop taking, you'll experience for the majority of your entire career. Mefloquine.
Yeah. It's worse than tripping on psilocybin. I'm telling you.
I cannot tell you the I remember when I first told my wife about mefloquine, she's like that explains a lot. I'm like, you have no fucking idea. People don't understand having a dream so violent and so vivid. You wake up and you're like, cops are coming through that fucking door right now. They're coming through this fucking door. And that's the type of shit that they're willing to prescribe to you. And because it will keep you from having full on malaria. Get the fuck out of here and give me the malaria.
Right.
But we're not willing to sit down and talk about doing stem cells, where it's like, man, like these are, and I want this to be something that's accessible to all of our troops, but you would think it would be an attractive idea because of the small percentage, a small community of the highest performers individuals. Like, you would think that with all the money they pour into Thor 3, with all the money they put into ensuring that you are the absolute best of the best, they would look at every possible avenue of approach to continue to keep you in the fight, to keep you at the team level, because they put how much, forget the exact cost, one Green Beret, the cost to train him, to equip him, and to keep him in that role is in the millions per Green Beret. And how many are we losing to injuries that could be prevented by just utilizing modern techniques of healing? Stem cells. It's a no-brainer.
And it's hundreds of dollars per guy. I mean, it can be thousands, but if they were to do it, it'd be hundreds, not thousands. For us, what we're doing, it's a few $1,000s. It's not. Well, I think average per guy right now is about $11,000. But that's just, on this, and we don't make money off of it, but yeah, it's just how it works out. But yeah, it's, I definitely, and I do plan on making my way to DC and just walking the halls and banging on doors, like the old team room doors, like, hey, open up. I got some shit I need to show you.
Gotta be careful. You're a pretty big guy, Travis.
I know.
You might scare some people.
I know, but
fuck, January 26th again.
Yeah. He's got a flag on his sleeve.
Fucking get him.
Yeah. Another insurrection. There's a patriot in the hallway. Yeah. I can see that shit happening for sure. I'll go in there with a pink hat on my head. I bet you I'd get more meetings that way.
100% could. I would recommend you go that way.
Yeah. I'll go in there with a lisp and my jeans rolled up, wearing some hiker logging boots.
Just dye your hair ever so slightly blue.
Yeah. So,
oh man,
those meetings need to happen. I've already spoken with a number of people. Secretary Collins is the only one that I've spoken to at that level. But they know who I am. I know,
Yeah.
I've had Mr. Hegseth's number in my phone for a number of years. He doesn't answer it anymore because he seems to have a new one after a signal incident. Uh,
I will say this. I will say this. If you run into him like at Normandy or any like the big events, like if you attend, that dude has really good recall memory.
Pete?
I yeah,
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. No, I
yeah.
know. Yeah,
You got to pin him down. You got to pin him down.
I know, I know. He's an avid user of Alpha Elite Performance, but I don't think I just need to send him another box just so he remembers me, and I'll put all the Project Recon stuff in the box. Uh, but yeah, those conversations need to be had because there's a lot of healing that can take place at the moment of incident, So, and just so everybody knows too, like I get, we're working with the soft community. Well, that's the community that I came from, and it's also smaller. It's large, but it's smaller than if you go big Army, big Air Force, Marines, all that. There's not enough money in the world that I'm going to make in donations. I'm not, Wounded Warrior Project or anything like that. Not yet, uh, but I hope that people understand regenerative health. It takes that kind of money, and so I'm starting small with the small footprint with dealing with soft soldiers. That's who I know. Um, so that's where we're at with that. But those of you that want this type of treatment and you still want to reach out to me, Travis at projectrecon.org, I can direct you in the right direction for your own health and healing. So I know plenty of medical providers that deal with stem cells at a very discounted rate for veterans. So
Yeah.
you
There
know,
you go, folks. Get in contact. That will be in the episode description. Travis, before we close out and I let you go so you can get on about your day, I got to ask, man. It's the beginning of a new year. Everybody's going through their New Year's resolutions, trying to be a better version of themselves. And in this show, we focus a lot on mental health. Like, after all the years of the grind and working hard, taking care of everybody else, putting your team first, what are you doing to put yourself, your health, your well being on the front?
well, I'll preface it with I'm no different than anybody else. I still have moments of weakness, if you want to call it that. Um, I mean, there are times that I question a lot of things. There are times that laziness sets in the depths of my cerebellum, like in my brain, and I just want to disappear, done working, done. You know what I mean? I'm just done with it all. Um, but then I get. I guess the reason why I keep going is I think that sitting around not doing anything sounds fun, but it would drive me crazy. It really would. I have to constantly be doing something, and if I'm not, then I go crazy. So, but as far as mental health, though, man, um, I wouldn't say that I'm religious, but I was reintroduced into a relationship with God, and so I don't know that I'm really good at it. I question myself on that as well. I'm like, hey, am I doing this right? Am I praying right? I this morning I was reading a book, Words of Jesus is what it was in the bedroom. And I closed it just as my wife's walking, and she's like, "I caught you." I'm like, "Yeah, you did." But I do that because I do find positive energy out of reading really good stuff out of the Bible, and I believe it. I am 100% a believer in a relationship with Jesus and with God. You don't have to be religious. You know what I mean? Um, and so I just try to do right. That makes me feel good in my mental health. But I won't lie, I cheat a little bit. Uh, I was introduced to psilocybin. I was actually introduced to 5-MeO DMT. Um,
Yes.
and I went like next level Delta Force SEAL Team 6 on that shit. Excuse my language. Like I took, I don't even want, that's a whole nother story that we can get into. But from that, I was introduced to psilocybin, microdosing psilocybin. And I have found, like I took it today, like a few hours ago, and I have found comfort in um, the positive effects that I get from psilocybin. So that helps me. And it's not that I'm crazy, but when you have a brain like yours, mine, and many other soft guys and gals out there that has been rocked, um, there's chemical imbalances. There's things that happen to the brain that we're not the same as we were when we're not as pliable and resilient. And so there's a lot of those synaptic flashes and stuff like that that just aren't synergistic, you know? So it doesn't. It's okay to have a little help, and that's what helps me as well. Is a little bit of psilocybin throughout my day. Not every day, but I do plan on. I watched a gentleman who did it for 28 days, and I'm going to do it for 28 days and really focus on where I was at when I started, the mornings, the evenings, the afternoons, all that, and write it down because I would like to be able to speak a little bit more. Professionally on it. Like there's some good things about it that have helped. So that's what I do. But just like asking for help, it's okay to also help yourself a little bit when you trust the medicine,
Yes.
and psilocybin is not one that you shouldn't not trust. It's definitely
Absolutely.
one not to abuse because not gonna lie, might have taken one or too many before just to see what was up. And I had to make a phone call.
Heroic dose.
Yeah. I wasn't ready
Nah.
for that, but it didn't help that the first thing that on that phone call, the guy was like, "Bro, is your front door locked?" And I'm like, "Why? Like, who's coming to my house?" And I'm already starting to get paranoid. No, but no, he was just messing with me. But yeah, it helps.
Oh.
And then also just health and wellness is getting rid of a lot of the toxins. I do drink tequila on occasion, maybe on the weekends. But not in copious amounts. And then I work out because I've always found, even in my healing from getting hurt, that working out also increases a lot of the serotonins, the dopamines, all the stuff that
Yes.
like 5-MeO DMT when it floods the brain and goes to parts of the brain that you haven't used. Working out will do the same thing for the most part, make you feel good. I'm always happy after I work out,
Absolutely.
regardless if I didn't
Absolutely.
want to do it.
Yeah.
So always
It's one
happy.
of it's one of the things that's directly connected to our mental health that we don't give enough credit to. And not only that, there is a huge focus on veteran suicide, veteran mental health issues, but we're not looking at all the other things that are intertwined, like heart disease, heart failure, freaking diabetes. Are all things that are killing our veterans on a daily fucking basis. So we have to address veteran suicide. We have to address the entire veteran, everything that that person's dealing with. And I will tell you, one of the greatest things that we can do is just simply start today. If you're listening out there, I got one for you. Start that 100-day challenge that we've announced on Security Halt. Give yourself 100 days of putting yourself back into the grind, back into putting your good habits in the forefront of your mind and getting rid of some bad habits. 100 days. No, it's not like 75 hard. I'm not going to penalize you if you miss a workout. No, you're in control. You figure out the top 3 attributes in your mental well-being in the mind, body, and spirit realm. In each one of those categories, you write it out. You set your goals, follow the rest of the plan, and for 100 days, you're just trying to move the needle, balance across your life. If you're already crushing and working out, perfect. Work on the spirit, work on the mind. Start that new class you've been putting off. Do something to finally put yourself back in control because it's all connected. If you don't work on the body, if you let the mind go and you let the spirit go, you're going to suffer. And that's one thing that I realized in my own journey. The body was failing, the mind, it was not there, and I didn't have shit in the spirit domain. Now that I look at my life, look that I'm back in the church, I practice my faith and identified a lot of things in 2025 that I needed to work on. And I'm like all of you, the small goals don't fucking move the needle for me. So a
Yeah.
100-day challenge with something super fucking hard at the end of it, I got my interest and I hope that it interests you. So please go to the description, click the link, or just hit me up, setcallpodcast@gmail.com. Or if you dare, call me, send me a message, 850-376-8101. Rusty, no more nudes. Just put it out there, bud. No more nudes. Just don't. But for all of you, please send me a question about the 100-day challenge. I'll send you out the PDF and we'll get in there. Join the team on Whoop. You'll see the episode description. That will be there. Travis, before I let you go, my man, where can people go to check out Project Recon?
Well, they can go to projectrecon.org. You can check it out there. Instagram is Project Recon. I believe the Facebook page is the same thing, and LinkedIn as well. And then if they want to go to Alpha Elite Performance for any of my supplement, the numbers of supplements that we have is alphaeliteperformance.com as well.
There you go. If you're going to join the 100-day challenge, go get some fucking pre-workout. You're going to need it and some protein. You're going to build some new muscles. Travis, thank you so much for being here, man. Thank you for what you've been doing your entire post-military career, man. I don't take it lightly. We learn how to transition by looking at the PDSS of the guys ahead of us, and you've been instrumental in so many different journeys for so many of our Green Beret brothers. And I would say for a lot of other veterans out there in the entrepreneurial space, because when you can see somebody like yourself out there doing the thing, and you realize that it's just a lot of hard work and reaching out for guidance and information, you realize that you can do it too. And I think the veteran space needs that inspiration greatly. So thank you for what you're doing. And thank you to you and your team for putting out there, going back out into the world and putting something like Project Recon out there, because we need it. Not only for motivation, what we can all do someday, but for resources. And I certainly hope if you guys are listening and you're dealing with the effects of a TBI, you're willing to reach out and get help, man. Stop living with the effects, start finding solutions. And this is a great place to start. Thank you
Right
so
on.
much for being here, brother. I really appreciate you.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely, guys. Thank you all for tuning in, and we'll see you all next time. Till then, take care.